What's up, guys? We got another patch note, so we're going to go ahead and go over these, share my thoughts on them, and that sort of thing. So, I've only played one game of Arena Mode so far. It seems pretty cool. So that's the first thing on these patch notes is Arena Mode is now available. So for people who don't know what it is, I'll explain it a little bit. Instead of having the hunting aspect, which a lot of people didn't really like, and I think most of the reason that people didn't like is they didn't really understand how to track the monster and how to properly dome the monster. Also, when you're queuing solo as a hunter, it feels really dissatisfying if you get placed on a team that the trapper doesn't know how to actually track the monster, because you'll never get domes. So this is kind of a way for people who want to queue solo who don't really understand or like the hunting aspect of the game to just get into a game where you can just fight. A lot of people generally know what to do when they're fighting. Sure, they make a few mistakes, but it can really be anyone's game um, for arena mode. So I'm not the biggest fan of this mode. I tend to like the hunting aspect. I like the sneaking and the outsmarting aspect as playing monster, and the hunting aspect from playing hunters. That's why I like playing trapper so much. Is I like pinning the monster and actually getting good domes and stuff like that. I find it pretty fun. But what arena mode is the monster starts at stage 2, half armor, and you get placed in a dome that will never go down, and you basically just fight to the death until one side wins. And it's 3 rounds of that. So generally the games go around uh, 5 to 10 minutes total between all 3 rounds. Usually a round takes about anywhere between like 3 and 5 minutes, I guess. So maybe it's a little bit longer than that, but if it's 2-0 sweep, then it takes 6 to 10 minutes or a little bit longer if it ties up and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool mode. I'll probably play around with it and do a video or two on it, but I'll probably stick mainly to the core game with hunt mode. I tend to just like that the most. Um, but it's definitely an interesting thing, and I think a lot of people will enjoy that side of the game a bit more than the hunting side. So continuing on for the hunters, this is more for the Xbox and PS4, I believe, but they're basically making the game harder with aim assist. So before, aim assist would snap to a target, and it would last half a second. Now it only lasts 0.1 second, so that's 1/10 of a second. And then the snap to target no longer works with damage dealing weapons, so it only works now with I guess shields, the booster from Sunny, things like that, buffs to the hunters. So it's always good when the game is going into a more difficult to play direction. In my opinion, I like that sort of thing. It adds for more higher tier players and stuff like that. Then they can show off their skill a little bit better. So I like that. Tons of new dropship conversations added for all hunters and combinations of hunters. I always love the new different conversations that you can see. Back when like Bucket was never in the meta, you get Bucket back in the meta just a little bit with that competition that they had, and it was all different dialogues, and people were laughing about him. It was great. So that's always a good thing. If the trapper leaves the dome, I thought this was already in the game, but if the trapper leaves the dome, it comes down after 10 seconds. So before, if people didn't know, you could actually dome dodge your own dome as trapper. So you could throw the dome if you were like the last one alive and the monster's coming towards you. You could throw the dome, jetpack boost backwards 3 times. And as long as you did it right, you would get outside the dome, but the monster would be stuck inside of the dome. And then they would have to wait the full like minute and 20 second or something like that cooldown while the dome comes down, and by that time your team is just about dropped and the trapper's on a different corner of the map. So this is a good change for monster players, definitely. Bots now randomize characters between all hunters and not just Team A. I noticed them playing other hunters as well, but maybe this is for more console stuff, I'm not sure. But I've noticed them playing other hunters before. Kyra healing grenades radius reduced to 8 meters, and it was 10 meters. So this is something that you'll feel when you're trying to heal through walls, I think is the main thing. Kyra was definitely on top as the top tier medic, and for monster players we're all rejoicing because any other medic is relatively easy to fight against, with the exception of maybe Slim. Slim is really, really good at stage 1 and like early on in stage 2. Basically, if you can play Slim into a team where the trapper is going to get a dome within either the first stage or right at the stage 2 evolve, you're going to do really, really well, and you're going to cut into the monster's health quite a bit as long as he doesn't do an amazing job at dome running. Slim is just really aggressive. But at stage 2, when he's full armor, and at stage 3, Slim really falls off because he can't really keep up on the healing, and if he gets focused, it's hard for him to be attacking and dodging the monster at the same time. So there's a little bit of problems with that. Lazarus, I think everybody knows how I feel about Lazarus. I think he's definitely the weakest medic and can be really easily abused if you know what you're doing as the monster. And then Val is decent, and I think with this change she might even be close to on par with Kyra. I think like the best tier of Kyra players that can actually hit all of their grenades might still be better, but it really, I'll have to test this out and see if you can still heal through walls and through trees and stuff like that, because that was one of the best things about Kyra is if someone was right on the other side of a wall, or even like when Behemoth threw up a wall, if you were right next to that wall, Kyra could actually heal through Behemoth's wall and stuff like that. So we'll have to see if that actually is a big enough nerf to change it so that she can't do that anymore, because that'll be a pretty big deal if it is. Hank's laser cutter has less zoom on iron sights mode. I don't think this is the biggest deal in the world. Hank actually can hit from a pretty long range. I think probably the longest range of all the supports with his main weapon, and even some of the other characters. He has a really easy time hitting, so I can see why they would add the less zoom, but I don't think it's going to affect players that much unless it's a pretty significant decrease. Lazarus needs buffs, so heal burst is increased by 30 meters or to 30 meters. It was 15, so this doubles the radius of his heal burst. Better for his teammates, but Lazarus himself is still going to have some trouble. Unless they reduce the cooldown on the heal burst, I don't think that it's going to make him that much better. Although he can kind of get into combat a little bit and not have to get as close and make himself as vulnerable to help heal his teammates. So that's one good thing about it. It might help him a bit, but I don't think it's going to put him back on the map in terms of medics. I still think that if you focus someone, eventually they're going to die. So if you go into a dome at full armor and you just non-stop focus the trapper, unless he jukes you amazingly, eventually you're going to get through that dome before the cooldown runs out, and you're going to be able to get out probably before you start taking health damage. So I think that's one of the biggest problems that Lazarus has, is it's almost a free stage 3 if the monster wants to do it. And then also, if you down someone really quickly inside of a dome, you can go after Lazarus and try to get those strikes. So I think Lazarus just comes with a lot of consequence. Also, not being able to really top off your teammates as you're just traversing through the map, it forces a lot more pressure to take health regen, and you really need jetpack recharge for a lot of your characters, so it makes things a lot more difficult for your teammates. Sunny's jetpack booster maximum range was reduced to 40 meters. So Sunny, I think she's probably was the best support. Now with this, it's probably going to be back to Hank. But I mean, her and Hank are still going to be top tier, I think. Bucket, he's better than he was. I played with him. He works. I think he still maybe needs a little something, but he's probably doesn't need too much, or else he might get he might become like by far the best support. I don't think he needs a whole lot. And what's the support I'm missing? Cabot. Yeah, Cabot's good, but I think the meta right now is more of a defensive play rather than offense. So I think that's kind of why not many people play Cabot. Probably because of Torvald as well. Is like Torvald does so much damage. If you have one of those on your team, you want to play mostly defensive so you don't get any strikes, and Torvald can just dish out a ton of damage. It looks like they nerfed Torvald again as well, so that might actually put him back in line with the other assaults, because he's gotten like 3 nerfs out of the last 3 patches. So you definitely have to start thinking about, even though I love Torvald and he's definitely my favorite to play assault, he might be getting back in line with the rest of the assaults, and it might actually be Markov or Hyde as the best assault now. I've seen some people do really well on Parnell. I'm just not one of them. I really don't like Parnell that much because I'm not very good at him. So his mortar gravity is reduced to -10, and it was -20. So does that mean they go farther, or does that mean they go less far? It was reduced. Mortar gravity was reduced. That means that technically they should go farther, right? I'm not sure if this is a change to make it so that if you look straight up, I think that's what it is actually. Because if they reduce the gravity, that means they're going to go farther. So if the monster is right up not next to Torvald and he looks straight up in the air, they should go over the monster's head and not actually hit him. Because right now how Torvald works is if you look straight up into the air, shoot mortars into the air, and the monster's focusing you, he'll get hit by those mortars and take a ton of damage. So I think that's what that change is for. Mortar explosion min and max radius reduced to 4 and 8. It was 5 and 9. So they nerfed the explosion radius on mortars, but not by much. It's only 1 meter on both ends, so that's not a big deal. I don't think that. I guess there will be certain situations where it won't deal any damage. Actually, maybe one thing that I can think of that might have an effect is inside of the tunnels on Aviary. If you hit the roof before the patch, you were able to deal damage to the monster just by hitting the roof with mortars. And I'm not sure because you were right on the edge. You wouldn't deal full damage, but you'd deal some. So I'm not sure if it'd be worth it to even do it now. Monsters' all health and armor bars are now proportional to each other, so I think they probably center, I think is what that would mean. I don't think that's actually a gameplay change. Automatic 180-degree rear-facing melee attacks are now disabled, except for in-cap grapples and manually triggered rear-facing harpoon break attacks. This is actually a pretty huge change. It's not as big of a thing unless the hunters know what they're doing to you. So I think this is more focused on the upper tier of like ESL players, because something that I know a lot of hunter teams have practiced is that if someone's being focused, you can get directly behind the monster as like an assault or someone else that wants to take aggro. Maybe if you have like a griffin or a Maggie or something and they're focusing on your support or your medic, you can get directly behind the monster. And how it used to be is the monster would like prioritize doing a 180 attack, which would be like if you've ever seen Goliath do an overhead attack to the back side of him. That's what they are referencing here. And it's super annoying as a monster player because you're trying to focus someone, and if someone gets in the right position behind you, you'll just automatically start attacking them. So disabling this is a pretty significant change to buffing all monsters. But I think Goliath most of all, because I think as the other monsters, like Kraken's never going to be down in melee range, hardly ever, and then like Wraith is going to be dashing around so much, and Behemoth, I don't know, maybe it would affect Behemoth as well. I don't play him enough to know. Goliath charge attack knockbacks reduced to keep target closer to Goliath. This is huge as well. Allows Goliath to capitalize on successful charges more easily. This is pretty huge. Because that's actually one thing that I hate about charges. If you hit them on like the tail end of the charge, you know, like you're 3/4 of the way through the charge and then you hit them, they go flying so far that you have to use a leap to catch up. Now if they reduce that enough, you'd be able to capitalize on it right there. So you could charge into Flame Breath, charge into Rock Throw, charge into Leap Smash. Leap Smash you could use either way because farther away would have been good. Or even like charge into a heavy attack and then do something else. I like this quite a bit. I actually like a lot of the changes here so far. Kraken Banshee Mines. The minimum arm time set to 1 second. It will still home in on a detected enemy, but it won't explode. They've been tweaking this a little bit just so that when you shotgun them into someone's face, they have enough reaction time to be able to shoot them, and it's not instant damage. There was a build at one time where you'd take, I think it was it just all Banshee Mines or Banshee Mines plus Vortex or something, and you'd get right up into someone's face and just launch Banshee Mines into their face, and they couldn't really do anything. They just get like instant incapped, and it was pretty annoying to play against, so I kind of see why. Invulnerability set to 1/3 of a second. This allows the Banshee Mine to be seen before it gets destroyed. Also, this is good because of Markov's lightning gun. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to get it away from the Kraken's body before it explodes, but if it is, that helps Banshee Mines in general quite a bit. Because one reason why I'll never take Banshee Mines at stage 1 is just because if they have a Markov, it's rendered completely useless, at least in my opinion. Alright, so Behemoth Changes, Rockwall. Now breaks Hunter deployables, really good for against Sunny. I'm not sure if that counts, but I would assume it does. It just completely destroys her turret, is like another way to just break the turret as Behemoth, which is nice. And also, Behemoth actually has a few problems breaking deployables by himself. Like he can really only use Lava Bomb to do it, especially like Markov mines and stuff. You either have to take the mine or if you use one of your critical skills, which is Lava Bomb, to deal damage. Lots of fixes to make it more reliable. So this is the second patch now that we've seen Behemoth have fixes to its Rockwall to make it more reliable. I'm definitely going to have to take another look at this this ability to see how it works now. Alright, damage perk, or damage reduction perk. In the pregame screen, it got nerfed. by quite a bit. I don't think I would ever take this now. I was taking it here and there once in a while, but I think I would definitely go back to either damage or cooldown reduction, or like something else if you want to go like smell range or something, armor regen, whatever you want to go. But I think it wouldn't be worth it to take this. Maybe as Behemoth, but probably not. Probably worth to take more damage just to make yourself more threatening. Or speed or anything like that is good as well. Maps. Oh, they updated the maps. So I know most of these. I know the dam spot up in the cage near the power relay. You were able to get inside of that. Rendering plant. You were able to get up top, like out in that open area of rendering plant. You were to get up top of the like little cables up there. Barracks. I'm not sure. There was that wall. I'm not sure if that's what they're talking about. In barracks, in the middle near the relay, there's that little piece of wall that you're able to sit on. But basically, they removed exploits, making it so that you were not able to get up on top of surfaces, I'm guessing. I'm wondering if this also means on the dam, those pillars. They didn't do Fusion Plant, which is another one of those pillar maps that I don't think... It makes it super hard for Goliath to win on Fusion Plant, but that's what I'm guessing the exploits were, is the little places that you could get up to make it really hard for the monster to kill you. Making traversal through the map smoother, fixing non-climbable surfaces. This is so huge. I hate when you find a surface as a monster and like you just can't climb it. That's the worst feeling in the world. That is amazing. Adding roots and line of sight blockers where necessary. This is also pretty key. I haven't taken a look at the dam yet, but a problem with the dam in general is that the hunters can see so far into the map. If you look through one of those caves, you can almost see to the back of the map when you're in the center of the map. So it's really hard for the monster to get away on that map. It's hard for him to like stealth or do anything tricky like that because there's no good line of sight blockers. So that's pretty cool. Definitely some cool changes with this that I'm going to have to check out as I play through the maps to see how they are. Alright, there's some miscellaneous stuff, particle and texture loading optimizations to help load times. I haven't had a problem with load time, but I've seen other people complaining about the load times and things like that. So for those players, it'll be good. Each player's preferred role will now appear in the lobby. This should help players understand what to expect for role selection. This is cool as well. I love some of these changes because like now I can go into a lobby and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see every other person that's queuing for monster as their preferred role, and I could just leave the lobby and go to a different lobby and just try to find like either a pre-made team or just a lobby of randoms that doesn't want to be monster, and then I can play with those guys because I know a lot of people hate playing against monster, and I actually prefer it when I'm queuing solo. And then also if I'm queuing as like a full 4 pre-made, I can play whatever people don't really want to play because I can play pretty much anything decently well. I prefer Trapper, but out of everything else, like I can play a Torvald, I can play a Hank or a Sunny or something like that, or I can play Medic. Although I prefer Medic probably the least, just because Hijinks plays it so much when we play together that I tend to not play it all that much. Added replay events. I'm not sure if this means that only on the mobile app that you get replays, or if they added replays to the game. If they added replays to the game, I'd be super happy. Because I've been saying for a while that they need to just add it to the core game. There's no reason for it to only be on the mobile game app thing. Added an option to default to peer-to-peer rather than dedicated servers. Well, generally I would always say you'd want to go to dedicated servers. I guess this is good for the longevity of the game because if they ever were to decide, hey, we're not going to have dedicated servers anymore, the game wouldn't die. They have peer-to-peer servers. But with peer-to-peer servers, I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot more possibility for cheating, is what I would assume. Unless this is maybe just for updating the game. I don't really know. Maybe this is more of a console thing than Steam, because Steam's always going to have dedicated servers. Like, they're never going to die unless Steam dies. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. So maybe it's just for that. I don't know. Observers can now use the analog stick to switch between users. Don't really care about that. It's console stuff. The left stick now controls the camera and cursor selection when using Southpaw or Legacy Southpaw in Observer mode. Okay, again, a console thing, I think. The round robin feature is now enabled in custom games. I mean, that was always in custom games. I'm guessing maybe it defaults to enabled. I don't really know. But round robin is basically if you have a custom game with 5 people, it's going to go to different players as the monster every time. You basically just keep playing, and one person gets selected as the monster until everyone's played monster, I think. Gray now added as a color for badges. Lots of updated UI audio throughout the game. I've actually noticed this when I was playing just 2 games. I noticed it mostly in the post game. They changed all the sound effects for the post game. Bug fixes, fix for masteries counting towards other hunters. I don't even know what this means. I know as Slim, I've noticed that like when I'm healing, I get random masteries for other hunters, so I guess that's what it is. Goliath, fix to momentum being lost. Whoa, another huge change that's just like hiding down in bug fixes. A fix to momentum being lost when running through breakables, or running into breakables. Huge change, because what I hate the most is when I'm leaping and I hit some sort of like a breakable tree and I lose all my momentum with that leap. Super huge change. I'm going to be really having a lot of fun with all the different changes that have helped Goliath, because not many of them have like specifically said, hey, this is a direct buff to Goliath, but like the automatic rear-facing attacks is almost always has almost always affected Goliath more than any other monster. This huge change, I don't know if there's anything else, but I've noticed quite a few things that I personally have problems with sometimes as playing Goliath that like loses me games or comes close to losing me games. That's going to be really, really fun. Fixed instances where rock throw could one-shot kill a hunter. Oh, I know this one. So now that it's fixed, I generally don't talk about bugs and exploits like this. I actually skipped the other one as well. Both of these I knew about, and I try not to ever use them, but once in a while it'll happen, and it's kind of a funny time. But I tend to not either comment about those things or not upload those games because I don't want to spread these huge exploits throughout the game. So I'll talk about the rock throw one first. Basically, what happens is if the hunter is behind an object, like a stationary object that can't break, and the Goliath throws a rock into the stationary object, the shrapnel from the rock can like sometimes bend around the object, and like all of the shrapnel gets focused into one hunter, and that actually makes it deal like a ridiculous like 300% damage or something. It only happens like you can't ever repeat it always, but you can just anytime a hunter's behind an object, you can throw a rock at it, and sometimes it'll happen like 1 in 10 or something, and the hunters will just die. It'll just insta kill them. It's pretty funny. And then this is the fix where you can leap smash and rock throw, and rock throw will happen like it'll skip half the animation when you're rock throwing after you leap smash, or you can activate the rock throw during the leap smash. I haven't been able to do that. The second one that I was talking about, the first one where it skips the animation, I've been able to do, but I haven't been able to do the leap smash plus rock throw at the same time. Actually, one of my viewers messaged me about this one specifically during one of the alphas or betas or something like that, where he was able to do it, but I was never able to do it 100% of the time. This is a huge patch notes. Minor HUD fixes for instances where the UI does not show up properly. Fix for the mouse cursor showing up when playing a match after being an observer in a different match. Hopefully this is the fix for everything. I think this has been fixed for a while actually, where you would hit Alt Shift Tab and like invite someone to a game, and then you would have the cursor on the screen when you're playing. But I think that was fixed a while ago. I always just have trained myself to Alt Tab and invite people through Steam. Fixed an issue when late joining that would force a player into the observer role. Fixed an issue where the observer would load into the game with a black screen and incomplete UI. I haven't really used the observer mode hardly ever. The HUD for the monster will now update properly for the observer when the monster becomes bot controlled and evolves. The monster's current stage information will now show up properly when viewing an AI monster in observer mode, and lots of minor fixes. Don't know what all those include, but fixes are always good. Lots of fixes for both on the server and on the client. I'm guessing this hopefully will include some of the Behemoth stuff, where the game will just crash if you use like fissure, or tongue grab sometimes will lock you into like the animation and you can't move and stuff like that. Weird little areas where the game hangs. So hopefully that's a lot of those fixes. Fix an issue where for level 40 players where undefined would appear after a round summary for the player's level. Not a big deal. but I guess it's a good thing that they fixed. Fixed an issue that could delay the spawning of a third group of survivors in rescue mode. I don't really play rescue mode. Fixed character names missing when the video gallery on the main menu. Oh, when viewing the video gallery on the main menu. Okay. Fixed battle report showing up as undefined when the party leader of a match leaves during the final post-round cinematic of evacuation mode. Okay, so that stuff wasn't that big of a deal, but there's a lot of really good changes here. I actually don't disagree with any of the changes, which is pretty rare when patch notes come out. Like, usually I would disagree with some of this stuff, but I actually think everything is good. Some of it I don't understand fully until I play with it, like the mortar gravity. I think I know why they did that, but I would have to test it out just to make sure. But almost all of this stuff, and I think specifically like Goliath, got a ton of huge changes to help him, and I'm going to be playing a lot more Goliath now. Like, there is a couple significant things where I guess you guys have probably noticed that I used to almost only play Goliath. I think it's actually my most played monster, but now I haven't really been playing all that much Goliath. I've been focusing more on Kraken and Wraith because I feel like in certain scenarios, Goliath just loses. But I think a lot of that was removed. Like, Sunny is a huge counter to Goliath because that jetpack booster, but now it's been nerfed twice, I think, so it should be a lot easier. And a lot of the other changes for Goliath on this patch are really nice. So I'm going to be doing a lot more Goliath. I want to check out Rockwall, just some of the things that I want to check out. But overall, really good patch notes. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.